Why are you so unhappy? Well, because 99% of everything you think and everything you do is for yourself. And there isn't one. Alan Watts. Welcome to the Citizens of the Globe podcast, where we not only embrace, but encourage change in our environment, in our bodies, in our minds, and in our souls. My name is Michael Maltez, and I aim to break down the borders we create in our minds, one meaningful conversation at a time. So when you have an idea and a plan forward for that idea, then you go and try to execute on said idea, yet nothing seems to be going as planned? That's kind of what it was like writing this episode and recording it. I have a few topics in my mind that I want to create episodes on, and a few guests that I want to reach out to, but my brain is, for all intents and purposes, paralyzed, at least when it comes to moving forward in the directions that I want to. And well, because I'm an over-analytical thinker, I got curious about why I might be stumped in this particular situation today. And just like that, a metaphorical light bulb lit up in my brain, and I instantly threw my mobile procrastination device to the side, opened up my laptop to start to write, and got a call on my phone from a relative that I very much welcomed, and it was a great conversation, and I appreciated the call and the checkup, but it was also a bit of a distraction. That's okay. It's completely fine because it helped me synthesize my thoughts and think through everything and slow down and remind myself that I'm a human who needs human connection. But today, we are going to be talking about how forcing things is detrimental and how perfectionism is a hindrance to creativity. And productivity, for that matter, too. And I realized that this next part is going to sound way off topic to what I just told you this episode was going to be about, but I promise in the end it's going to come full circle. So, I've been tracking my headaches on and off for about a year now, and what I've been able to gather from the tracking is that my headaches are a result of my brain trying to account for too many variables in too many situations. If you think of me as a computer, we can begin to understand how my brain works. However, the brain is much more advanced than computers in terms of what we can do. Your computer only has so much RAM. RAM is what allows you to go from listening to this podcast to opening Safari, where you have 78 tabs open, and instead of using an existing tab, because you never know when you're going to need that spicy garlic noodle recipe you Googled months ago, you start a whole new tab to Google what is RAM. Well, I'll tell you what RAM is right here. Random access memory. And essentially, the more RAM you have, the more you can multitask on your device. Okay, so keeping in mind the brain-computer analogy, let's take a look at my situation. I'm a 22-year-old kid who puts quite a bit of stress onto his plate. I'm self-taught and actively manage my finances through multiple avenues of gambling. I mean investing. I go to school. I work full-time. I pay the bills. I may be moving soon. I have this podcast and all the other podcaster responsibilities. I have a doctor's appointment this Friday. I eat fairly healthy. I put a lot of effort into eating sustainably. I stay socially and politically conscious. I have to think about what I want to talk about in my 55-minute therapy session next week. I maintain relationships. I practice yoga. I stay active. I meditate. I read. Okay, fuck, you get the picture. Being a human is hard. And as a human, I have to juggle a lot of different variables in my life. However, I'm still a growing boy, meaning my brain is not fully developed yet, and I may not have all the RAM that I need to handle all that I take on. But I'll be damned if my stubborn ass doesn't keep pushing and trying. Don't take that last part seriously. It's actually the opposite of what I should be doing. So back to the headache thing. Before I got this spark to outline this episode, I had a fat headache. And in my research, I learned that I might have what's called a tension headache, which feels like a super tight band wrapping around your head. Not the point, but it might be useful information to my fellow chronic headache sufferers. Anyways, what I'm saying is that just like a computer that begins to slow down and crash when you put too much stress on the system, our brains quite literally do the same. All this tension or stress has been mounting in my brain sponge, and instead of listening to my body and what it needs, I just decided to scroll on Reddit, Twitter, and TikTok in that order. Guilty confession, I had deleted TikTok for almost a year now, but I just made one for the podcast and I'm so using it as an excuse to use TikTok again. Terrible. But alright, just like opening a new tab doesn't make your computer's problem go away, neither does procrastination. And I think at some level, we all get that, right? I don't need to keep explaining this. So my brain's next question was, well, if I know it's so bad for me, why do I continue to procrastinate? Like, what's wrong with me? And well, for me, I think I'm beginning to understand that it's because I want to be perfect. I wouldn't say actually perfect because I know nobody's perfect, but I would say that I want to be the best that I can be at everything. And a lot of the time, I see the world in terms of giving my 100% or none of it. And that's an extremely common outlook. Many people think that way, and what's crazy is that no one really expects anyone else to be perfect, but we expect ourselves to be perfect. And now saying that out loud, it sounds a bit self-absorbed, like, oh, you think you're better than everyone else, so you hold yourself to your high standards, but everybody else, you hold them to their lowly peasant standards because, well, can you really expect much more from peasants? Yeah, get out of here, dude. We're all equal. We're all equally shitty. We're all equally great. And it just depends on, really, who's judging you. Well, personally, I think I'm a perfectionist and try to write the perfect episode, how I'm doing it right now, or say the right things, or the reason I'm a yes man at work is because I'm scared. I'm scared to be a failure, and I try my hardest not to fail. I've been on the low end of capitalism's totem pole, and I know what it's like, and I don't want that again. Side note, because I know what it's like, and I haven't forgotten that, I don't want anybody else to be there either. And that's kind of what this whole podcast is about. It's my journey into helping. I don't know exactly the facets that I'm going to help the world, but this is the beginning of it. And sometimes you just got to do and figure it out on the way. I digress. What I found is that the harder I try to control my life and push it in the direction that I want, the more I'm unsatisfied with my results, even if they meet my standards. Isn't it weird how when you're least trying, the universe delivers the most pleasant results? I know for me, I've witnessed it on multiple occasions. It's sort of this flow-like state where every stoplight down the road turns green as you approach it, or you catch the right wave and surf it so effortlessly. Your date feels so natural and nothing was forced. Or you might feel the same thing with a friend and you guys catch the same frequency when hanging out, and there's just like no awkwardness. For me, right now, it's you start writing and there's no stopping, or you start speaking and every word just sounds good. Those moments are weird because you did nothing to excite them. You relinquished control, and yet the most beautiful things happen in this way. I was introduced to this Taoist concept known as Wu Wei by Alan Watts. Taoists believe that the universe is a flowing energy. So let's picture a flowing river. And in this river, picture yourself. You have choices. You can swim against the current. You can just tread water, stay afloat, and let the current take you. Or you can swim with the current. The current is going to pull you downstream regardless of what you do. So it's really just your choice to make that journey tiring or enjoyable. I think those moments in life where the light turns green as you approach it and all the right things happen around you without much doing is like staying afloat in the river. I think when we become stressed, ill, and debilitated is when we're swimming against the current, trying to do everything to be perfect, controlling our destiny. Wu Wei, defined by Taoists, is not taking any action that isn't in accord with the Wei, which is the Tao, which is the natural flow of the universe. Wu Wei is, in my opinion, swimming with the current. Right, this episode isn't going to write itself, and it's not going to record and edit itself and post itself. So I can't just sit here and do nothing and it happen, but if I start, even if it's bad, if I just start, maybe things will flow. So to wrap this episode up in a tight, neat little bow, I think I, and so many of you out there listening, spend our entire lives in this cycle of swimming against the current, tiring out, and then resting, letting the current take us for a bit, just to start swimming upstream again. When we could just turn around and swim with the current. Wu Wei. Don't fight it. Just be with the energy. Thanks, Chester, for the advice. And rest in peace. The question is, how? How do we become one with the energy? Well, I'm sorry. I don't know how. Not today, at least, but I do hope to find out on my travels, and, of course, all I learn in this life, I'll share with you. So thanks for listening. Continue to create the day that you want.